Okay, so I already wasted a bunch of time by screwing up the beginning, so we're just gonna get right into it. You guys can see the screen there, and so we're just gonna go for it. So here we have this logo that I made, this Arrow Realty. We're gonna be recreating this today because by doing this, we're gonna get to see a lot of different features of SignMaster Pro. Now, SignMaster Pro is very good, very capable software, and I really, really like it. But someone's asking, if we make logos with this tool, can we sell them to our customers to use for commercial purposes? And if they wanted to trademark them, could they? Yes, this you totally can. You can actually consider SignMaster Pro or SignMaster Basic. It's just another graphic design software, and it does allow you to cut with your vinyl systems cutters. But stuff that you create in here, like this logo, if I wanted to sell it to a company, this Arrow Realty, if they were a real company, I totally made that up. Um, I could, and I could get this, and I could export it export it as like an EPS, SVG, PDF. I could make PNGs out of this, and it would be just the same as if I had made it in any other program. So yeah, you could totally sell these if that's what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. Copy. I have a new document right here. I'm going to paste it, but just as reference. And really what I'm going to do is we're going to go through this one piece at a time. And so the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to show you guys how to do, we're going to run through this with basic shapes. And I'm going to kind of skip ahead, and we're going to make the arrow. Now this page here is just kind of an idea. You can work off the page however you want to do it. Make things as big as you want. Doesn't really matter. We're going to make the arrow. And to make the arrow, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the fuselage. I don't really know what you call the body of the arrow. I'm going to call it our fuselage because I don't have a better word for it. All right. And this is just with our rectangle tool. So with the rectangle tool, we're able to make basic shapes, and everything that you've done. If you guys saw my Silhouette Studio tutorials, you know that we're just working with basic shapes and we're making them work for us. All right. Now here's what's cool. So we drew another rectangle. And these are going to be the little feathers at the end. Again, those have a real name, and I don't know what that name is. So this right here, what's cool about the rectangle tool is if I wanted to make that a rounded rectangle, I can just adjust it with that little tiny part there. Let's zoom in a little bit. There you go. But I don't want this. So this is a rectangle, but it's still editable in the sense that I could round it and whatever, right? I want to convert it to curves, which is going to lock it in to just a shape with 4 points. This is where we get into point editing. Now, point editing is something that you're going to find in like Adobe Illustrator. You're going to find this in all of the great vector graphic editing softwares. And so you see I have 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's a cool trick, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I want this, you see these arrows, those are kind of skewed right there, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm in point editing, and I'm gonna draw a box around these top 2 arrows. Oh, actually, sorry, I gotta double click it. There we go. So now I have both of these selected, and so if I click, I'm gonna move both of these arrows at the same time. So I could do it like that, and I just hit Control Z to undo, by the way. I do like to make use of my keyboard shortcut. So we're going to draw around here, and I don't want to take too much time. Now, if you hold the Control key, it's going to lock in, and it's going to go perfectly left and right. So I'm going to lock that in, right? I'm going to go back over here, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. Now, I believe when you paste in this program, it's going to paste it directly over what you had just copied. But don't worry, it's right there. I'll make it a different color just so you can kind of keep track of what we're doing. And here in our tools, oh no, not in our tools. Oh yeah. So I'm right here, you see top right, I'm gonna open up my tools panel, and then right here in the drop down, lots of different tools depending on what you're doing. And right now I need to align these properly. So, and I always align to the last object selected. So just keep that in mind. I'm gonna click this first, hold the Control key so I can click this again. Or actually, is it the Shift key? Yeah, it's the Shift key, sorry. Hold Shift, and then I'm gonna align the bottoms of these, right? Check that out. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna double click this to get into point editing mode. Gonna select these two, and holding the shift key, I'm just gonna bring that in a little bit, right? And then now what I could do is gonna go back to my select, gonna copy, gonna paste, and now, right? Boom, boom, boom. Of course, I want all three of these, or I'll just hold the shift key and click them all. I do want them all to be aligned properly. And I'm gonna scoot them over a little bit. To group them, you can just hit Control G. So now when I copy and paste, the whole group gets copied and pasted. Oh, there we go. Transformations, I want to mirror it vertically. I'm gonna kind of eyeball this. Check this out. Again, click this, hold the shift key. Now I have both of these. I want them to be centered with each other. And then I'm gonna group them by hitting Control G. And now these are all gonna be one group. So hold the shift key, click the fuselage, whatever you guys want to call it, the shaft, I don't care. And now, boom. So now our arrow is taking flight. I do want this all to be the same color. So this is looking like a pretty cool arrow. Now, some people, and if you look on like Shutterstock, people are selling this element right here. This is really popular with a lot of logos. People are using like the cross, kind of like you see this here. Like I've seen a zillion bars and like bakeries and like food related like restaurants and stuff use this. And one thing I guess I should have said earlier is the principles you're about to see that you're seeing today. If you don't have SignMaster, you could do this in Silhouette Studio. You could do this in Adobe Illustrator. But if you have SignMaster, I wanted to show specifically today how to do this in SignMaster. All right, so we're back on screen. Now it's time to draw the arrowhead, and I really hope that's the right term for it. I'm pretty sure. In my heart, that's what it is. What's cool about SignMaster Pro is that you do have this general clip art, and I think SignMaster Basic has some clip art. This is all like, there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and there is this one. Accept, boom. Now, if you want it, now that's free. If you wanted to make something like that, what you would do is you could just draw this, right click it, and where is it? There we go, convert to curves. And it's kind of the long way to do it, but it's important to show you guys. You could just morph it to be whatever you want, you know? That's the cool thing about once you get comfortable creating stuff and once you get comfortable using these tools, when you see a basic shape like this, you'll know in your mind just the steps necessary to create something like this. Now, if you click on the ruler on top, you'll be able to set like a guideline. So moving this, what that's going to help you do is, and these are going to snap to the guideline. So if you want to make sure that everything's centered, right? There we go. And then you could set your guidelines like, I want this arrow to be exactly like 2 inches tall. So you'd set the guideline to, so drag the ruler on top. Now, where is it? Oh, I'm in point editing. Sorry, you have to have your select tool. Drag the ruler from the top, set it to, whatever, 12 inches and set it to 14. You can use these to your advantage because when you're in point editing, they're going to snap to the guideline. So when you're creating stuff and you do want it to be perfectly even, feel free to use that. If you're going to sell these things, I recommend it. I'm kind of eyeballing center because I'm just showing you how it's done. I don't intend to sell this, but if any of you guys want to pay me $10,000 for it, I will sell it to you. I promise. All right. And so I made the arrowhead. I do want it to be a little smaller. And one thing you'll notice about this is that it will size and scale, which I do appreciate. I don't want it that small. Now, if you hold the shift key, it's going to expand from center, which I like a lot. Or if you don't hold the shift key, it's just going to expand in the direction that you're pulling it. So shift key right there, I want it just a little bit bigger. And then of course I want to align it with the shaft. Now this means if it's doing that, that means that I didn't center it properly. So we'll just pretend I'm going to eyeball it from here. I'm just going to pretend I made the perfect arrowhead. Okay. All this is done. I might need to lengthen the shaft later. Actually, let's just do it now because I know I will. And again, I'm eyeballing all of this. When you guys, if you guys are making this for somebody or for a very, someone's paying you the big bucks to do this, you definitely want to take a little more time, make sure everything's sized and spaced properly. But of course, we're just kind of doing this as an example. I'm going to rotate this about 45 degrees. Now it is going to lock. And I don't know if you see on the screen in very tiny letters, it'll lock in, so 22.5 degrees, it'll lock again or snap at 45. It'll snap at 67.5 and it'll snap at 90. So using that, I'm just going to snap it at 45. And on my keyboard, I did a copy and paste, Control C, Control V. And let's object mirror horizontally. And right, you see they're not aligned. I could eyeball this one, but instead, again, holding this shift key, I have this selected. I'm going to hold the shift key, this selected. There we go. Boom. Now, if that doesn't look good to you, it's the shafts that make it look like it's not centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this one over a little to the right. So the bottoms are going to stick out a little further than the tops, but that's okay. Going to get everything here, and I'm going to group them for now. And then for the final thing, we're going to weld everything together. So check that out. So that's just part of it, all right? And one thing I do want to say again is if you go on like Shutterstock, if you go on these other sites where people are selling their SVGs, like, dude, you're finding these people are trying to sell this and things like it, the arrows with the crosses. This is just one example. There's so many cool things that you can make and that they'll be exclusively yours. And you could sell them if you want to, or you can just, so your arrows don't look like everybody else's, add a little touch of flair, angle the, what were they called? The flights, angle the flights, the little feathers, angle them differently, make it however you want so it looks, best for you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna finish this. So now it's time to draw a circle. Yay, my favorite. Oh, and when you draw circles, that's my bad. The circles are gonna kind of start from center. So go to your circle tool. All right. And now I'm going to go to my outline tools because I need to make an outline of a circle, right? Whatever, I'm just going to make it a different color just so you could see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to click outline, right? And do you see how it's making another line outside of my circle? There we go. I'm going to apply it. And now I'm going to select just these two. And we're going to go over here and our weld and shape tools. I'm just going to punch it out. And that's how you make a circle with whatever thickness you want, where it's going to cut properly. Now here's another thing that is kind of interesting. So this is not perfectly centered. So if I center this to my circle, we're going to go back to our align space. Actually, that's not half bad. So I'm going to group these, and I'm just going to shrink them so it's a little bit more manageable because we've still got more stuff to do. And let's zoom in. There we go. All right. Now in the original logo, we did a realty company. So I made a little house. You could really at this point make this logo whatever you want. And let's see. So depending on oh, sorry, one thing that I did want to show you guys, I'm gonna zoom out real quick for that, is this is probably the easiest way to do circle text. All right. It's easier than Illustrator, it's easier than Silhouette Studio, it's easier than so many other programs. So you're gonna right click here, you can do vertical text, you can toggle to vertical arc text, fit text to path, which is all very cool. Arc text is gonna be what I want. I'm gonna click the center, right? And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. And now, I'm just gonna make up a name for a business. I'm gonna call it Good Business Company. And of course, and what's cool is you can get this as close to the center. Now you do want, you can probably see the outline. You do want to center it with the circle, right? There we go. And you can change the font over here on our toolbars. I'm going to open up my text tools, and there's lots of different fonts I could choose from. That's Abolition. I believe I used Anthology Regular for my other logo. I have lots of dumb fonts here. Bubblegum is, I don't know why I'd ever use that. I'm sure I had Bambi bold. Okay. And then of course we can, lower the size of the font here. You can increase the tracking, which is the space between the letters, if that's what you're into. And then of course, if you want them to be a little further from the center of the circle, you just click up and drag, boom, right there. Now here's why I like it. One of the dumbest things to do is I hate when I have to put the text right here. There's a little arrow. I'm going to click on it. And right here, so if I hit enter, it's just going to stack more letters under it, right? But when I click this one instead and I hit enter, now it's going to allow me to type. You see that? Do you see that? That's the easiest way I've found to just to have text match on the bottom and be on the same path. So it's really cool. It's been in business a long time. I just made it up. So they've been serving you since 2020. And then of course, you can click on the select tool, and this, the center of the circle is right here. You can really move it to however you want, whatever's going to look best for your graphic. There we go. And this bottom text is a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is going to go over here, just going to shrink it, but I do want to increase the tracking. Oh, that's going to increase the tracking for all of it. Another thing you can do is when you're done with this one, you could just create a separate text one, and that way you can edit everything separately. I'm just going to leave that there because I like it. And check it out. And so that's how you can really see that our logo is coming through really nice. And now we're just going to fill it in. Oops, there we go. Now we're just going to populate it with some stuff. Now, Good Business Company, they could make buildings. Good Business Company can really make anything. And so what's cool about SignMaster Pros, there's lots of clip art here. Just really everything. Like, is Good Business Company a barber shop? We have some scissors right there. If Good Business Company is I don't know, is a briefcase right here. Oh, we sell gold bars. I don't know. There's lots of cool clip art that you can put in there. But what I've seen a lot of people do is they'll just put good. They'll just put the initials there. Cool. And then we can just put. That's why I love these logos, by the way. If anybody ever tries to hire you to do a logo and you have no idea what to do, give them one of these. They're super trendy. Everybody digs them. And then you don't really have to, I mean, you could put logos. If it was like a firehouse, I'd maybe put like the fireman logo here and like an icon of a hose right there or something. I don't know. You can really customize these as good as you want, but if they, you can just put initials and they love it. Like, I've done this several times for clients of mine. Looks great as a pocket logo on a t-shirt, by the way. That's one thing I will say is, yeah, it's done. And then I don't want this guideline anymore. I think I can get that out of there. Yeah, you just drag it up and out of the way. And so now we've seen Good Business Co. One thing you do want to do is you do want to convert everything to curves, and then you do want to combine them. So that way, anything that's overlapping. Oh, see right here, that's exactly what I meant. So wherever there's an overlap, it's going to be a negative space. So I'm going to hit Control Z. There we go. And instead of combining, I want to just weld it. There we go. So now when I weld it, all the overlaps are just going to combine. They're not going to get that negative space. That's very important to keep in mind. Welding is very different from combining. I'm going to show you guys how to do a house really quick. Right? So you get your rectangle. You got to convert it to curves. In this program, not every program requires that. Copy and paste. So I just hit Control V, Control C, or Control C, Control V. Gonna double click it, and I'm just gonna bring this one in a little bit, and then I'm gonna bring this one in a little bit. And then I'm gonna select them both, and I'm gonna bring them down a little bit. All right, and now it's time for my chimney. And my chimney, I do want it to be red. Oh, there we go. Just so I could see what I'm doing, right? Chimney's a little thick. Okay, we want the chimney right here. I'm gonna copy and paste this one. There we go. This one's on top. I want my outline to be a little bit. There we go, because I needed to cut out of the chimney. Gonna apply. Another thing that you want to do is, okay, so click that. When you want to bring it to the front, And so you just right click it and then object and display tools, or to bring it to front. Because when you punch it out, you want to punch it out of this. We're going to go to our weld and shape tools, and I'm just going to punch. Boom. So if this was a building company, you know, you just put that there. If you go to last week's tutorial in Silhouette Studio, I showed how to make like your own toilet paper rolls, like your own skull and crossbones, your own baseball champions with a banner. There's so many different things that you can create on your own, and we want to see you guys create your own stuff, because first of all, you're not having to pay anybody to make it for you, and if you really like it, you could sell it, you know. Another thing that you can do is when customers come to you and they don't have a logo, charge them to make their logos. Say, hey, I offer logo design services for, you know, X amount of dollars, and that's a really great upsell. It's a great service for them, and it's a great way to just make extra money on your sales. So somebody says, hey, I need t-shirts, I don't have a logo. You don't have to send that business elsewhere. You can start creating your own logos, like this one, Good Business Company, you know. And again, we could fill this with clip art, you know, depending on how much they're paying you. If they have a budget, you know, some companies are paying big bucks for logos. So if they have a budget, sure, you know, get the clip art to fill in here. Make sure it's licensed properly. Don't steal. But yeah, that's something that you guys can do. So this, I've already welded this together. It's one single image. And of course, you don't have to do that. You could save it as separate elements if you want to. It's up to you. When I'm sending a customer, like if they want the vector and they've paid for the vector, I don't want them to be able to split it. And of course they could. Anybody with a decent background can, but it just makes it that much harder. I don't want to send them the individual elements. I want to send them like a flattened vector towards one single piece. Anyways, so once that's done, you're going to go to File, Export, Export to File. And you're going to see, this is just random stuff that I've done. And you can, I prefer to export as PDF. You can export as any of these: Illustrator, Bitmap, AutoCAD, EPS. EPS is what you're going to see depending on what site you're using. So if I wanted to post this for sale on Shutterstock, Shutterstock uses EPS for all of their vectors. There are other websites that use SVGs for all of their vectors. So you just want to, you know, have it however it's going to be. So just name the file whatever you want. Oh, whoops. Name the file whatever you want, and then you could see all these are all my different. I don't have any. Oh, I do have some Illustrator files. Nice. Yeah, me personally, I usually go for the PDF unless someone is asking me specifically for different projects, so, or for different formats, and that's how you would export it to whatever you need. If you have any questions about today's what we talked about today, feel free to email me, jared@heatpressnation.com. If you have a question about purchasing or any of the products, you want a vinyl systems cutter, and it comes free with this SignMaster Pro software, you can call us 800-215-0894. Yeah, and for any other questions, you can also go to contact. Maybe you don't feel like getting on the phone, you don't feel like waiting on hold. You can just go to heat.press/contact. It'll take you to our contact page. That's if you have a question that's not really urgent, but you're just kind of curious, heat.press/contact. Or of course, for the webinar replays, heat.press/webinar replay. Catch us on YouTube and Facebook, wherever you can. And I think that's going to be it. That's going to be it for all of the questions. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for this week's MyExpert live training. My name is Jared. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys around. Adios.